If I was asked to describe Hangman Page vs Swerve Strickland 2 in one word, I'd choose cinema. Hi, I'm Wrestling Republic's Ben Allison, and this is why I choose that word. Cinema is a term which is undoubtedly overused in the internet wrestling community at this point, with Britannica describing cinema as quote-unquote having the qualities of intensity and intimacy that derives from its power to hold the complete attention of the spectator. And this is something which Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland undoubtedly achieved at Full Gear. AEW were under a lot of pressure heading into the Full Gear 2023 pay-per-view, with low ticket sales, declining ratings, and negative reviews really hurting the company's image over the past couple of months. And I have always felt the primary issue with All Elite Wrestling is their roster size. As the more people you have on your roster, the harder it is to tell storylines and for storylines to make sense. Truthfully, I feel their roster should be about half the size it currently is, as you can't realistically expect a viewer to tune in to Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision every week to keep up with every match to understand every storyline. Most people, very simply, just don't have that amount of time in their week. So a lot of them only tune into Dynamite and sometimes Collision. AEW's lack of storyline replays before matches means for the casual viewer it is hard to keep up with most storylines on their flagship show Dynamite, and well, a lot of them just feel incohesive to the casual viewer. With so many storylines going on across so many shows, it's just impossible to comprehend for a lot of people, and I really do believe that this is the reason why, well, a lot of people just haven't been tuning in as of late. But from the first time Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland stepped into that ring together, well, AEW hit the jackpot. The story was so easy to keep up with both competitors mostly staying out of other feuds and instead just focusing on each other. The story was usually only advanced on Dynamite, making it easy for the casual viewer to keep up with, and if anything was advanced on another show, AEW did for once recap it on Dynamite, something they should probably do more of. There is no doubt that both Hangman and Swerve Strickland are phenomenal storytellers. Hangman's feud with Kenny Omega and his overall story arc, his character arc, is something that many AEW fans believe is the best storyline in AEW's short history. Meanwhile, Swerve Strickland has done everything he can with the little he's been given in AEW, getting himself over in the process, resulting in his push over the last few months, and he kind of pushed AEW's hand on that one. Heading into their first match at Wrestle Dream, many thought we could have a match of the year contender on our hands, as the two made things personal early on in their feud, with Swerve claiming that if he had the opportunities that were given to Hangman Page, then he'd have been AEW's first black champion. Swerve did win their first encounter in a show-stealing bout with help from Prince Nana at Wrestle Dream, and on the Wrestling Republic rating scale, their first match marginally missed out on getting the 5-star rating, but their second match, well, that certainly didn't have the same fate. Following Wrestle Dream, Hangman Page got his revenge by costing Swerve his number one contenders match against Bryan Danielson, leading to Swerve breaking into Hangman's house where Hangman's child was asleep. This was one of those moments in wrestling where you just kind of did have to suspend your disbelief, as of course in the real world Swerve, well, he likely would have been arrested for breaking into somebody's house. But in storyline, Hangman Page didn't want to press charges because he wanted to settle things for himself and do it in a Texas death match at Full Gear. This brings us to the match itself. The 5-star classic that we gave it here at Wrestling Republic. And from the moment the match got underway, well, the two tried to murder each other. It was brutal. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've not always been a fan of deathmatch wrestling personally, as at times the art form, well, it kind of can be used as a way to get cheap hops and make, kind of hide wrestlers' abilities. And, I mean, at its worst, it can also just be very, very unsafe. But this style of match was perfect for Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland, because the hatred, the despise, and the lack of the disrespect, or I should say the lack of respect, that both men had for each other justified this horrifically violent stipulation. Some of the spots in the match included the drinking of the blood have already gotten a lot of criticism online for being unsafe, but let's not forget that AEW does blood test their talent and undoubtedly would have had the thumbs up from, medical professionals before doing, such a violent match like this, right? They're not idiots. This was safe, or at least let's hope it was. But the match didn't just work. It excelled. It pulled you in. It suspended your disbelief. And just like it should have been, it was hard to watch at times. Because when two people have genuine hatred towards each other, being a bystander in that situation does feel awkward and uncomfortable. And this match, well, it achieved that emotion. And that is just one of the many reasons why this was just hugely successful. Swerve Strickland did end up once again getting the victory, and I truly believe that this was the right decision. And while this feud is far from over, it certainly should be over for the time being. AEW at its best has told some of the best stories in recent professional wrestling history. And when it's all said and done, I believe Swerve vs. Hangman could top them all. It's obvious what should be next for Swerve. The AEW World Heavyweight Championship. The AEW title scene is extremely hard to predict right now, with the ongoing Devil storyline with MJF leaving us with, well, more questions than answers pretty much every single week. But one way or another, by next summer at the latest, Swerve Strickland should have that AEW gold, that AEW World title gold. Then, a year from now, at Full Gear 2024, you run this match back. You reignite the feud between the two, but this time with the title involved. The title that Hangman once had, and he hated himself for losing. The anxious millennial cowboy will once again be at the height of fighting his anxiety and lack of self-belief, and will be obsessed with proving that he can get back to the top of the mountain once again. Meanwhile, Swerve will be claiming Hangman will never be able to beat him, and that now he is the man on the throne, and he will not lose his crown. This story really could go down as one of the best in modern wrestling history, but for at least the next 9 months, it is vital that you just give it time to breathe. The two need space between them, so when they do fight for the title, not only will it be the third and final match of their blood feud, but it will also be the most anticipated match in AEW's history. To summarize, Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland has shown AEW at its best. A storyline which on surface level can be understood by anyone, but for the hardcore fans it has many layers that can be broken down and discussed. This is what AEW needs to do more of. Storylines which are simple to understand for the casual viewer, but underlying deeper layers that can be enjoyed by hardcore fans, therefore making both sides of your audience happy. Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help us here. If you're new to the channel, if this is the first video you have seen, make sure to check out our live daily podcast every single night at 8 PM UK time, 3 PM Eastern and 12 PM Pacific, where we discuss, well, all the wrestling news from the day or any shows that have happened. And of course, make sure to check out WrestlingRepublic.com as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.